Hi, this is George at PaintReproductions.com. Today we're starting a new project which I'm very excited about. It's a painting by Winslow Homer, and it's called Two Boys in a Pasture. Now, I've done a couple Homers in the past and I've really enjoyed him. He's got a wonderful technique. So what I'm going to do is get started. I'm on the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston's website, and from here I want to find my downloadable image. So what I'm looking for right here is I'm going to go to Collections, Collection Search, and you can type in the name of it right there, or you can search by, you can see I've already searched by Winslow Homer. And if it doesn't come out with here, we can go Objects in View. Go down here and we'll start seeing some Homer paintings right here, which I do really enjoy Homer's paintings, so I'm going to be doing some more of those too, especially his seascapes. So right here is the painting I'm going to be doing. Now, what I'm looking at right away is I'm going to grab some information on it, but I want to make sure, at least for my reference, as far as being able to do it from a course, when I go to the download option, right here, it's telling me is a public domain and they are available for downloading, and I agree to their terms of use. So I'm not making this to print it off and go sell it to, you know, a whole bunch of people or use it on, I'm not using the original image to, you know, as marketing, going to make posters or anything like that. I'm just using it as a study tool to create my reproduction and work a little bit on Homer's style. So I downloaded it, I saved it to my desktop. So once it's saved to my desktop, what I do is I go ahead and I open Photoshop. So I got Photoshop right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project. And I'm going to create a new project, and from here I'm going to name it, I can name it my Homer. Two Boys in a Pasture. Okay, but the big thing is the size. So I'm going off the size of my canvas. I hardly ever to never make my paintings the original size, just like I'll never sign another person's signature on there or anything. So it's always either a little smaller, a little larger, or I'll add something, take something away, those kind of things. So what I'm going to do is I have my width. Now I'm doing a 16 by 20 for the canvas on here. So I'm going to change this to inches. Okay, and my width is going to be 20. And my height's going to be 16. I'm going to leave my resolution right where it is. And we'll do okay. And that gives it the same size. Now this is the same size as the canvas I'm working at. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my image from over here and I'm going to drag it and drop it on here. And as we can see right now, it's bigger than the original image, so I'm going to have to crop some stuff out and lose some stuff. Or I can always just add to it. So in other words, I can take it right here and I can expand it out a little bit. Extend it out a little bit, and if I feel like I want to do the painting here, I can add up here or down here, as long as I don't mess with the original way the painting is set up. In other words, I don't want to mess with, he's originally got this set up so the boys are the center focal point. His original composition is set up a specific way that I don't want to change the composition just by doing the reproduction. So what I'll do is I'll take a look at it and see if I bring it right in to see how much it messes with the original composition. Like right there, bring this down a little bit. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy with this painting right here if this is my reproduction. So sometimes, like if you're following my Degas, I've actually made the ceiling larger, that area larger. I do it on purpose. I'm not trying to make an exact reproduction, exact size of the original artist. Just like you'll never see me do an aging or anything like that. I want it to look like, kind of like how it would have looked the day he painted it. Because I'm more interested in the style, and I'm also, you know, interested in adding to my collection because again, I'm a big fan of Homer's. So what I got here, so it's a nice subject. It's a beautiful painting. It's going to fit nice on the canvas. So I'm going to save this as I'm going to save a copy of it to my working file. So I create a copy of it. So I'll do click on it. I'll save as. Now I have a whole bunch of files over here, and I'm going to go in, I save it to one of my drives where I want to work from. with some of my projects I got going on right now. So I got my Homer project, and let's see, Two Boys in a Pasture, working images. I already have the original image in there, but I want to save this. I want to save a Photoshop of this. So I'm going to save my Photoshop of my working image. So I'm going to save it right there. Okay, now we see my size here is pretty big. For my working image, I don't need it that big. For the original image, I have it like that, so I'll take it down in size, probably usually cut it in half. This will render it down a little smaller, a little bit working image. For my web images, I make it even smaller than that, but for this one, this is good. So I want to save it. And we want to save this as my working image in my Photoshop. Or actually, I'm saving this as my working JPEG. Save. And of course, you could save them however you like. Okay, so now we'll get to the nitty gritty. Now I want the working images and my grid lines. This is what I'm asked mostly about. So what I do now is, first thing I'm going to look at is I'm taking a look at this canvas and I want to decide if I'm going to have to do a grizel layer or not. And I can tell you right now, from the way he paints and his style, no, it's we don't really need to do a grizel layer. In fact, I'll study this and I continue to study it as I paint it. But as soon as I can find, my underpainting appears to be like this off brown, which is fine because that's normally how I underpaint. It's like that color right in here. So I'll be just doing this as an underpainting, an initial sketch, and color over the sketch. So I won't be doing a grizel layer. The detail on here is fine, but it's not extravagant, so I won't worry about making a perfectly smooth canvas. I'll probably apply maybe 2-3 layers of gesso and just a light sanding in between. I want the texture, I want to have a little bit of texture on here. Some of the things I'm noticing right away is I love the third of the sky because the sky's uninteresting. So I love the third, and I love the point of view. This is taken from a low point of view, almost like the person, if you were looking at this, you'd be sitting down with them. You'd be sitting on the ground with them, maybe over to the side, and you'd look over and catch them out of the corner of your eyes or glance at them, as opposed to standing up looking down at them in the field. So it's really a unique perspective, which is why I'm looking forward to doing this. And I really love some of this grass work and some of these different colors that are in the foreground. So this is going to be a really fun reproduction. So I know now we don't need that, so I don't need a grizel layer, which the grizel, of course, I would just change it to black and white and start putting a grid line in. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it here. I'm going to duplicate my layer. Okay, I'm going to duplicate my layer. Okay, I'm going to take this layer right here, and we're going to call this the sketch. What I'll actually do is I'll go up here and I'll create I'll free transform the image to black and white. Okay, and then from here, we'll double click on it. And then from here, we'll open up that option and do OK. So we're going to save this. Then we're going to open up here, and now I'll do a color overlay. And now we see that's the kind of brown I want right there. So let me modify this a little bit darker brown maybe. There we go. That's my underpainting I want. So I'm going to hit OK on that. So now I have my working image. So I'm going to save this one. I'm going to save for web. Okay, this is going to be my working image right here. So we can cut this in half. It doesn't have to be detailed, as much detailed as the original. So we'll scale that down, and I want to save it. Okay, next I want the grid lines. Now the easiest way I found to do the grid lines, which is actually kind of fun, I know of course it's 16 by 20, so I'll do them probably by 4 inches. So what I'll do is I'll actually take my guidelines, which you get those by pulling in the ruler and pulling them out. I'll take my guidelines and just drop them because it makes them nice and straight. I go 4, 8, 12, 16. And usually on something like this, it's not as detailed in the back. You really don't need that many guidelines, but I like to do it like this, and especially when I get around these guys, because I really want to get this as close as I can right now. So here's my number 12, and that gives me my even grid lines. Now, how do we get the grid line onto the image is actually the fun part. So we're going to draw a line. We're going to go over here to our tool here. We're going to change that to our line tool. Now, looking up here in my line tool, I want to make sure it's got 5 pixels right there. That looks pretty good. And I want my line tool to, I either want it white or black. I'll take a look at white. So what I can do right now is I can hit OK, so it lets me edit it. Now I could do a line right here and see what it looks like. That looks pretty good. That's what I want, yeah. So I'll edit, I'll undo that line tool. Now I'm just gonna set this line tool right on top of the line, right off the screen, right off the image a little bit, just so it creates that line right across. Do the same thing here real quick. And that's it. Just dragging that line down. You'll see if it's off. See how that's off a little bit? So we want to fix that. There we go. Now what you do is grab it so it's back to your pointer tool or your move tool. Take those lines away and you'll notice you have some white lines in there. So now what I have is my working sketch or underpainting kind of sketch of what I want to use. And I have my grid lines in to use with my proportional divider. And it works really well. I've been doing this system for a few years, and I used to do all kinds of measurements and all kinds of things and print them out and draw them on here. But because I work from an iPad, now I always work from an iPad. I like the way you can move an iPad in and you can pull it out, move it in. I can use high definition images as opposed to a printed image. But of course, whichever easiest for you, you can print this off and use this for your underpainting. You know, it's whatever you decide. I've seen people print off high resolution pictures and copy them that way and do stuff like that. I mean, whatever you're comfortable with, but I've always found this to be better because I just take this image and transfer it to my iPad and I'm good. I take the original image, this image, transfer them both to an iPad, and that's it. So all I'm doing right here is on File, I want to save this again. So I'm saving the Photoshop image like I had before, and then I'm saving this image. And I want to save this to my working image, and we're just going to call this my underpainting grid. We're gonna save that as the PTSD file. Then I'm going to save. I always do my save for web legacy, so I'm going to save for my web. Now for this one, I want this to actually. I can leave it big or small, but we can go small. It's just a sketch. So I want to, let's see, get that in there. I want to save. Now this one we're going to go under the web images. It's already named, grid, it's to JPEG, save. And that's it. That's all I'm doing right there is for these. I'm going to transfer these images. So in the next video, we'll prep the canvas, we'll get the grid lines on the image, we'll start the sketch, we'll work the painting and get it done. I want to thank you for joining. This is George at paintreproductions.com. Have a great day.